some really important student loan updates. We are in the pathway of Tropical Storm Helene, so I wish everybody else who is in the same situation safety. I'm saying that because you'll hear my son in the background probably making some noise, but I did not want that to stop me from coming on our channels to give people much needed updates. Number one, the biggest one is that the on-ramp into repayment is ending. On-ramp into repayment literally started September 2023, and it lasts for 1 year, in which the student loan servicers would not report to the credit bureaus any late payments or missed payments. That's ending, which means that if there are any late or missed payments, they will now, after September, be reported to the credit bureaus. 10 million people missed one payment or more. 6.7 million people missed more than three payments, excuse me. If you miss more than 270 days of payment, you go into what's called default. We're going to see default rates come up, and I just want to warn people on why they should take action before going into default. Number one, default is a very devastating experience. You will be called by debt collectors. The government will try to find a way to garnish your wages, your Social Security, if that's relevant, and any even tax refunds, right? We have helped people who have gone into default. We highly recommend against letting your student loan go into default because there's so many things you can do ahead of that that will be much more easier and less traumatic than dealing with debt collectors calling your phone. They're not just any debt collectors. They're literally backed, endorsed by the government, which makes them, in my opinion, even more powerful and harassing, but they're not very knowledgeable at the same time. It's better to get enrolled into an income-driven plan ahead of default and avoid getting called by debt collectors, okay? That's number one. So we really want to help people get into an affordable plan ahead of default because it's really bad for your credit. They put you in a KVR system, which is this system where you can't take any government-backed loans, which means if you want to buy a house that's a government-backed loan, you will not be able to get it until you get out of the system. There's a lot of harmful repercussions to going into default we want to help borrowers avoid. So here's my fair warning. It is emotionally and financially traumatic. And not only that, but legally, once you go into default, they can add 17.82%. I don't believe, I have to look up into whether that's been taken away in reforms, but they add a lot of fees on whether they've lowered those fees. I have to look up, but they add a lot of fees when you go into default to pay these debt collectors. And so that is what makes balances go up on your student loans, and we want to help people avoid that. That's number one. The second news is the Court of Appeals, who's overseeing the revamping of the SAVE program, has put a temporary pause on Biden's ability to do the next wave of loan forgiveness, which he was planning on doing for people who have a higher balance than they originally borrowed, or people who've been paying for more than 20 to 25 years, depending on the plan they're on, or if they went to a school that qualify for borrowed offense discharge, not disability discharge, and a couple other niche edge cases here. But the point is there's been a pause and delay on forgiving this next round of forgiveness right now, as ruled by the Supreme Court. We don't know when the date in which they're going to stop the barring of this next round of forgiveness, okay? And then lastly, I want to quickly talk about if you're in the SAVE program, your loans are on pause, and you're anxious about what's going to happen. I want to address that very quickly. My son is contributing to this conversation. Don't be worried. The government is not going to take away SAVE overnight with no alternatives. It's not like if your payment was $900 and SAVE brought your payment down to $200, all of a sudden it's going to jump to $900 and there's going to be no alternative. The government will most likely provide an alternative. They just did not want the administration to make payments as low. Or also what happened when people enrolled in SAVE is that the servicers were required to count a lot of prior payments, which was like another round of forgiveness. And so that's why these 6 Republican states sued. So don't worry. It's not like there's going to be no alternative. The Supreme Court will likely rule on the constitutionality of specific things, but they will not directly tell the Department of Ed how to execute. So the Department of Ed will still have the leverage and ability to create alternative programs because that's been granted to them through the Higher Education Act. So I would not worry about everything disappearing overnight. If you're trying to buy a house and there's concerns about your ability to close because of your debt to income because you are on deferment, let's talk. We help people through those cases. But if you find this information helpful, please do share with those with student loan debt you may know in your lives that this can help. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Again, I'm sorry for the noise in the background, but I still wanted to make this very important update. For those, again, in the pathway of Hurricane Helene, stay safe. We will talk soon. Like, comment, and also if you have any questions, we will answer them. Or if we can help, we also are available at hello@myloansense.com to answer anything we can about our services or what we can help in this time that is pretty stressful considering the deferment. So we're here to answer them.